the 23rd of December 2025, and every morning, every day, every hour, every second, we are faced with a world that moves fast, sometimes exactly as we predicted, and often in ways we never see coming, sometimes in ways we don't even know, we don't see coming, and our job is to pull you back and allow you sit down, relax, digest, and see those headlines and see the stories and see the things that have been happening around us. We are not just telling you what happened here on Idea TV. We are unpacking the why, the behind the stories that is shaping our world in education, tech, innovation, business, entrepreneurship, policies, development, research, and all of those stories that matters to us in Africa and beyond. And that's how we welcome you to the Idea Morning Digest today. My name is Cynthia Bassi, and of course, I am not alone. I'm here with Mary.
Mary, good morning, and welcome to Idea TV IMD today, this morning.
All right, Mary is going to be dwelling on the discussion segment. And next, Nigeria introduces mandatory drug tests for public service applicants. And lastly, JDPC calls for urgent support for prison inmates. Let's go on this quick break. We'll be right back with the stories.
Number 2, advanced neurotechnology beyond BCIs. Brain-computer interfaces grabbed headlines when Neuralink implanted its first chip in 2024. But neurotechnology is much broader. Researchers are testing non-invasive brain stimulation to treat depression and PTSD, while companies like Kernel are developing helmets that can monitor brain activity with unprecedented detail. Clinical trials are exploring personalized brain therapies for epilepsy and Alzheimer's. In 2023, the U.S. NIH launched its Brain Initiative 2.0, investing billions in advanced neurotech. By 2026, these innovations could expand from medical use into wellness and cognitive enhancement.
Okay, welcome back, and good to know that you're still there with us. And if you're just joining, this is the Idea Morning Digest. So the first story we're bringing your way is that President TINUBU has warned state governors that he may soon issue an executive order to ensure local government funds are paid directly to their respective councils. Speaking today at the ruling party's National Executive Committee meeting in Abuja, the president expressed frustration over the continued withholding of these allocations despite the landmark Supreme Court ruling. And the warning comes as new data reveals that state government has managed over 7 trillion naira meant for local councils between July last year and December 2025. Although the Supreme Court declared the retention of these funds unconstitutional over a year ago, many states still operate the joint local government account, effectively bypassing the judicial order for financial independence. Unions representing local government workers and council chairmen have thrown their full weight behind the president's threat, calling for an immediate end to state interference. They argue that direct funding is the only way to ensure the record allocation seen this year translate into better roads and healthcare for citizens. The president has made it clear if governors do not comply, the federal government will begin direct deductions from the next monthly allocation. And yes, this is the story we have today, Mary. We've been talking about this issue as Nigerians, this time for a while now, for years, not just a while, for years now, and it feels like we're finally hitting that crescendo. We're finally reaching the loudest point of this issue, and the president is now coming out to tell governors that the honeymoon is over, like I like to term it. And if we want to get it objectively here, we are talking about 7 trillion naira between July 2023 and now. And I see this as I think that is an should I say astronomical amount. It's a very huge amount that has supposedly sat in the joint local government accounts. That's the JAAC. So for those of us that have been looking and eyeing this space and wondering what is going on, it's the JAAC is basically that middleman account where the federal government money goes and before it reaches local chairmen. So that is the JAAC account. And the Supreme Court now which is the highest of them, which is overseeing all of these things, are now telling the middlemen that this system is unconstitutional. What are we doing? And we saw that later this year, governors came out and they are, still holding on the purse strings that allocations needs to come from them, from these, purses. And now the president is threatening that executive, is threatening to give an executive an order. And, some of us might argue that the federal government have overreached that point, but if the rule of law isn't enough to, how should I put it, move this issue or move this point, the president is now saying, if they are not ready to move, I am going to, move toward physical or coercion. So if government councils rather are not giving their money, he will deduct from their allocations. So this is what the president is coming out to say, and I think it is I think it's a good initiative, and we've seen so many bright initiatives from the renewed hope agenda, and I feel like it's a bold move. It's revolutionary, especially for Nigerian federalism. It is very, very important. But the question still remains, because whenever initiatives, ideas, and things like this come out, we always ask ourselves so many questions. You want to know, the what ifs, the what not, the buts, the don'ts, the do's of issues. If, and we're asking, I'm just thinking out aloud, that if the money goes directly to local chairmen, do we have the tracking system to ensure that they don't just pocket this money, that this money goes to the right, what it is allocated for, that this money fix, infrastructural facilities in a state, that this money fix primary healthcare centers in a state, that this money goes to, the community, goes to the needs of the people. And these are some of the questions we're asking about, initiatives like this. But at the end of the day, I commend this effort, and I want to see where they go with it.
It's actually an amazing effort by the president, showing that he's even expressing frustration over the continued withholding of this allocation despite the MAC Supreme Court ruling. I wonder why the president have issued an order even from the Supreme Court, and these things and these funds are still withheld. You can see that most of the state, their primary school, their health care is not being taken care of, and most times we just start accusing the government directly, not knowing what is happening. But with this breakdown now, we now understand that it's no longer in the hand of the president. He has given the command for the go-ahead for the funds to be disbursed, but they've not seen the fund yet, and they are still withholding. I don't know why, I don't know their reasons, but they should do something. I can see full workings here, because all we're looking at for 2026 is full workings, and it has started this year, 2025. That's why I always say that 2026 is going to be a wonderful year, because we're seeing powerful workings right now. We're seeing the feasibility of things. We're seeing how it's going. The president is up and doing, trying to look at things, make sure everything is going smoothly, so that 2026 citizens will not start saying, oh, see our primary school, see our health care, see our roads, they are not being put in place. He can probably come out and say, I have already issued an order for these things to be taken care of. So I think at this point, anything they are doing now, they should just respect that which has been issued out already, so that everything will be put in place and we can move forward to the next agenda we have for the country.
Exactly. So we can move forward to the next agenda.
Move forward to the next story that we have here. All right. The federal government has approved the immediate introduction of mandatory drug testing for all individuals seeking employment within the Nigerian Public Service. All right. The directive issued yesterday through a service-wide circular from the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation makes substance screening a core requirement for recruitment across all ministries, departments, and agencies. Under the new policy, government heads and permanent secretaries are required to collaborate with the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency to conduct these screenings. The move is designed to combat the rising rates of illicit drug use, particularly among the youth, while ensuring that the national workforce remains disciplined and productive. The administration emphasizes that this is a preventive rather than preventive measure aimed at safeguarding national security and institutional integrity. Officials expressed concern that substance abuse within the public sector could undermine service delivery and weaken the government's capacity to meet its development goals. Exactly. I actually used to say that the workings I'm seeing this year is very impressive. This aspect is very, very crucial for to screen people before giving them, especially public service job. Let's know the drug dealers among us. Let's know what we're doing. Let's know that the person's health is in check. Let's know that we do not have substance within. We don't want to start hearing stories here and there. So I commend this practice very, very well. It's a nice one that will be tested to see that an individual is very fit for that position, because usually they can never tell what's going down there. You will see a responsible individual, but at the end of the day, the person is doing one hidden thing or another. Let's know what we're doing in this country and let's put our heads straight. So I commend this practice very, very well to me.
Okay, I think I commend it too, but I don't know why I have a counter opinion about this somehow, because it may look so good on the surface. Yes, it may look like a good initiative, or first of all, we are still battling with unemployment, and every day we are seeing civil service jobs out there, but I don't know how many people finally get them. I think that's a personal problem. I don't know. It's a national problem, but it's my personal reservation about civil service jobs. But then I think because Buba Mara has been very aggressive with the drug war, and enforcement and whatnot. But then when I look at the deeper context of this, I'm just looking at another case of, okay, I know that to fight drug abuse is very, very important, and especially now that we have a lot of youth, not just youth, even children, adolescents are abusing drugs these days. But it's more like, why I commend the effort first of all, it's more like the government is trying to see, they're admitting that drug abuse is no longer just on the streets. It's now entering the corridors of power. It's now entering places where we look up to or we look into or something like that. And then where my reservations lie is that while this may be preventive, I think it's also punitive, because we have to ask about privacy for individuals. I'm not advocating for drug abuse, but I'm just saying we have to ask questions about, are we trying to move, if we're trying to move to maybe a cleaner bureaucracy, we're always trying to eliminate bureaucracy in some certain areas completely. But let's look at, we have to handle it with that human rights mindset. In as much as all of this is important, we need to understand that people's rights matters as well. Yes, very important. Where I'm going with this is that we have to look at the root cause of all of these problems, and even if the root causes of all of these problems are not in our front, but we know that poverty, unemployment, all of these things are the root causes of this problem. So let's think of solving the root causes of this problem, because when you do not get, let me be sentimental a little, when you do not get what you want, some people tend to, not everybody have this, they say, as they used to say, some of us, we thank God for some of us who they carry clear eye face life. Some people cannot use their clear eyes to face their problems. They have to be high on something, or to just curb depression and whatnot. But then, like I said before, I'm going back to, I'm not advocating for drug use, but I'm just saying we should look at the root causes of this problem. There is an economic despair that is causing mental health issues. There's an economic despair that is causing all of these things, that are making people turn to what they shouldn't, turn to. So I think we should tackle unemployment before we talk about testing people for job before they get job, because how are we certain that they are going to even get the jobs after all?
After the testing.
Exactly. But then we have to move to the next story. Okay, in Borno, I think this is the story we are going to be talking about in the discussion segment. So I think we're not going to dwell on it, but we just have to give our 2 cents. So confusion is mounting in Borno State following the unveiling of 3,000 electric bikes by President Bola Tinubu, even as local authorities insist a strict ban on all motorcycles remains in force. During a state visit last Saturday, the president inaugurated the eco-friendly fleet alongside hundreds of tricycles and buses praising the initiative for its potential to transform rural mobility. However, the Borno State Police Command has clarified that the prohibition originally issued in July 2024 to curb persistent security challenges has not been lifted. Police spokesman, as spokesperson assistant superintendent of the police Nahum Dasu, confirmed today that the ban covers both petrol-powered and electric motorcycles, warning that anyone found operating them faces immediate arrest and prosecution. Residents in the capital, Maiduguri, are now calling for urgent clarification for the administration of Governor Babangana Zulum. While some welcome the green energy push, many remain puzzled over who will be permitted to use the new vehicles, while the general public faces arrest for the same activity. As of this Tuesday, the state government maintains that security protocols remain the priority. JDPC, the Justice Development and Peace Commission in Ibadan, is making an urgent... okay, I think we're moving to another story. I was like, okay, I'm moving too fast. I'm sorry about that. But then we're still in Borno State. Please, let's not go to Ibadan now. I think, and this next story, I think, is very surreal. Let me start with saying that because it's just like it's more like a classic case of saying, you know, the right hand is doing something that the left hand is not even aware of. I mean, the two parts of the body are doing two different things. And we see here that last Saturday, President TINUBU was in Borno State, and that's the home of Governor Babangana Zulum. And, you know, I've known since Zulum entered power, he has been a working governor. Borno State is in the news even now and then. First of all, just to commend the governor's efforts with initiatives, reforms and enforcement and whatnot. But then, and it's a good one too for push for the green economy. It's another good one. But we're talking about motorcycles banned now in Borno State, and the police command are coming out to say, for security reasons, because Borno we know is not, you know, has been faced with serious security challenges. The police command have been, I think since 2024, they have been saying we are banning bikes because this is one of the, you know, drivers of crime in our state. Well, now the president is coming to launch 3,000 bikes for them, and these bikes are eco-friendly, you know, bikes. But the police are saying whether they launch bikes or not, we do not want bikes in Borno. But I'm just thinking again, is it a wise decision? First of all, there is a communication breach with the state police. Yes, it's state police and the, you know, federal government. And then secondly, again, I'm looking at it, is this the only way to curb insecurity issues? Is this the only way to tackle insecurity issues? Can't we think of other better, you know, measures to tackle insecurity issues? Banning bikes? Okay, so far so good, like I said.
They've already done the research and come out with the fact that using bikes is one of the means by which these bandits operate, and it's easier for them to just use bike enter the road than any of this. And like you said, it needs to be agreement between the police and the federal government, because if the federal government is in no of the decision of the police, there will be issuing of 300 electric bikes, 3,000 electric bikes. So the communication there is not that strong, because they are the ones doing the investigation. The police are the ones going into these bushes, searching, and they've gotten evidence of other things. They know the technical know-how. So for them to come out and say, bikes, we do not want bike, it means that for the time being, there shouldn't be bike, even if bike is another simple means of getting to your house and cutting time for yourself. Me, I would say, if I'm in Borno State, the bike should be there, because people just hop on bike and get to their locations faster. But I think they have their reasons why they're actually saying we do not want bike. And like you said, we'll emphasize more in the discussion segment. So let's move forward to the next story we have here. JDPC, the Justice Development and Peace Commission in Ibadan, is making an urgent appeal to the public to improve the welfare of inmates across Nigeria's correctional centers. Speaking today ahead of the Commissioner Jubilee celebration at the Agodi Custodian Center, Director Reverend Father Charles emphasized that every human life possesses inherent dignity, regardless of their circumstances. The Commissioner is calling for a collaborative effort involving medical professionals, volunteers and private organizations to provide essential support for those behind bars. Reverend Father noted that the initiative is built on the belief that inmates should not be forgotten by society. He stressed that the task of reinforcing and caring for prisoners is too significant for any single agency to handle alone. The upcoming outreach at Ekodi will include medical service and social support aimed at restoring hope to the uncared for. This appeal comes as a part of a broader effort to encourage well-meaning Nigerians to contribute their time and resources towards correctional reform. The JDPC maintained that through collective action, the conditions of inmates can be significantly improved, fostering a more compassionate justice system. I think that's a good one there from Ibadan. That's a very nice one because inmates are actually part of us too. It's a situation that actually took them there. It's not like they decided that they want to be there, but something happened that they are there. So yes, going there to visit, buy something, show them love, tell them they're important. They are also Nigerians like us. It's not like we got them from outside, even though we have other, crime people that committed crime that have been arrested. But showing them love and making them feel accepted would make a lot of them have a change of heart and turn towards their sins and come out brand new. The way we treat inmates are very, very important. Like he said, it's not a one-man's job. It's something that involves collaboration, something that involves many people to put their hands on. They can involve finance too. So if you're capable to handle it, it's fine. But if you're not, you can get joint force to, make them feel special and feel accepted by the society also.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a very important call for humanity, for us to just, reset that humanity mindset in us. I think the Reverend Father Charles Ajibaye is making a point that resonates with, I think, the core of justice, our justice system in Nigeria, and also calling for justice reforms in Nigeria. Our prisons, even if we call them correctional centers, they are nothing, they are anything but not correctional centers at all. They are not correctional centers. If you go, even if I've never been to a prison before, I've been to the yard, but I've never been to a prison to see how, but we've seen in movies, we've seen on TV, we've seen how crowded the place looks, we've seen how unkept the place looks. Even if you are trying to maintain your mental health, or you are trying to, you will lose all dignity even with the environment. So, I think if you are being locked away in the prison, it doesn't mean that your dignity should be, locked away as well. I think what because this Agodi of it, I think Ibadan is a very old town. So Agodi should be a very old prison facility, and I think everything there must be dilapidated by now. So when these the Justice and Development and Peace Commission come out to call, they are calling doctors, they are calling everybody, they are calling volunteers to step in. I feel like they are highlighting a failure of the states to provide basic welfare for those in custody. It's important that we take care of those who are in correctional centers, just as the name implies, correctional centers. That is a place where we're going to, should I say, enhance people's morality, or even if the morality wasn't there before, we're trying to build it. It shouldn't be a place where you go and get it, worse. And I think this is a compassionate and justice, a call for compassionate justice system, and it's very, very important. Very, very important, very, very important. And we must remember that even some people are still away in prison that have been convicted for trials for things that they did not, crimes that they did not commit. So people should not be punished for what they did not do. So even if they are in there awaiting trial, they should be in good state, they should be in good environment, they should be, because whether we like it or not, as the law says it, even people in prison are still they are still how did they say it, they are still innocent in the eyes of the law. Yes, that is how the law put it. When you are in prison, you are still innocent in the eyes of the law because you are serving your term there. So I think this is just a wake-up call for all of us, and it's very, very important. But then let's run through the headlines we brought to you. The first we brought to you is that TINUBU threatens executive order over local government funds. And then next we brought you news.
Breaking news that Borno upholds motorcycle ban despite electric bike launch.
We also saw that Nigeria introduces mandatory drug test for public service applicants.
And lastly, we said JDPC calls for urgent support for prison inmates.
Okay, that's the much we can take for our news review segment. We'll go on this quick break, and when we come back, we bring you up to speed with the discussion segment. We'll be talking about Borno motorcycle Okada ban.
2. Advanced neurotech from medical use into wellness and cognitive enhancement.
Welcome back. You are still watching the Idea Morning Digest, and now this is our discussion segment, and we are moving into the final talks for the night, and we still want to bring you the Borno State story. And Borno State is crashing their heads in absolute disbelief, because last Saturday the atmosphere in Maiduguri was one of celebration, where President Bola Tinubu was in town to unveil a massive fleet of 3,000 eco-friendly electric bikes, hailed as the future of rural mobility and a win for the green economy. But just as the ribbons were cut, the Borno State Police Command issued a chilling reminder that the ban on all motorcycles is still very much in force. So we have a president commissioning vehicles that the local police say will get you arrested if you ride them. It's a classic case of, like I said before, the right hand not knowing what the left hand is doing, or perhaps a deeper conflict between our desperate need for transportation and the brutal reality of security. But I see this very much from the security aspect. So today we are asking this question: is this a policy glitch, or a sign that our security strategies are completely out of sync with modern innovation? So we are going to be joined by you, our viewers, to navigate this confusion as we look at the Okada factor in Nigeria. And to bring it to you, especially for our viewers who are not Nigerians or familiar with our reality here, in remote areas, these bikes aren't just a luxury. So they are more like, as we call them, Okada. They are the only way to get to different places, to go along the means of very, very important means of transportation. They can enter any hooks and cranny. They can enter all the tight corners. Yet for years, they have been and the primary tool as well for insurgents and bandits. They are most likely, how do they call them? What's bandits? What's all of these terrorists and whatnot use as hit and run? That very fast hit and run to commit crimes and all that. So this is what Borno State Police agents or security agents are scared of. So maybe this morning we want to look at this very well, and we want to see this policy paradox. How does a state government accept and unveil 3,000 units of a banned product, which are the bikes? We need to look at whether it is just ceremonial, or there is something there. Is it important that these bikes are banned for security? You see, this I think for when we want to look at this is what happens when optics, like I would like to put it, meets ordinance, because President Bola is currently pushing for his renewable. He has come out with that his initiative, that idea, and he has been on it since he entered power, and we have been seeing it. We have seen it with the CNG buses he rolled out in different states. We've seen it with CNG stations he's trying to station in different states. So he has this just like his renewed hope agenda, he has a renewable energy agenda, and he has been pushing for it, trying to signal that the world needs to transition to a cleaner way, and a way of subsidizing heavy petrol. I mean, we've been calling big banks to stop funding what do they call them, environmental degradation by funding companies or industries that uses fossil fuel. So the president is on with all of this, and Nigeria was commended too for pushing for this, and one of the African countries that is really I think tackling climate issues very well. And then on the other side again, not to digress too much, Governor Zulum is saying we know he welcomed the bikes, he agreed, he collected them, okay, our states need them, but then the police force in Borno State are saying we don't need bikes because bikes are posing a problem to our society, and according to them, the bikes in Borno have long been more like what should I say facilitates movement for these Boko Haram people, for all of these ISWAP people. So these groups most times use bikes because because of their go nowhere or go anywhere rather capability that bikes have. Bike can enter anywhere. So they are saying even if it's the Sambisa forest, bikes will enter. But I'm not sure about the sea. That's what I'm not sure about. So I don't know. Is it that the governor forgot that the police commissioner said, rolled out a memo sometimes ago, especially I think it started in 2024, that we want to ban bikes? Or is it more like a ceremonial oversight for Governor Zulum now? He was just happy and was basking in the whole ceremony, and he forgot that there is a memo that will be rolled out by security agents. Or he just wants a cleaner energy, a cleaner economy for Borno State. So these are some of the things we are looking at. But I feel like banning bikes is not completely the right option when we want to talk about security and survival. What do you think?
This is where lack of communication comes in, because if there is due communication, of course, the police are going to be aware that we're going to have this kind of ceremony and it's going to be launching of electric bikes, and they are going to communicate back to the government even before coming to the public to say it. If there is right communication, this discussion would have been done inside instead of bringing it outside. But because the communication was not well passed to them, that's the reason why they are saying we are the ones that are working right now, we are the ones doing the investigation and all that. So we know that launching bikes now and allowing these bikes to start their work is going to be another means of improving or helping these criminals to keep committing their crimes. Bike, it's actually a nice means of getting to where you want to get to. I, for one, use bike a lot. So banning bike is going to frustrate a lot of people. And the reason why the president launched out the electric bike, of course, we're looking forward to having a nice state, having a clean state, going to your state and knowing that everything is working fine and working well. This is part of his agenda, and he wants to, he actually launched the bike. Maybe he's forgetting that maybe they made a complaint or meeting to him, maybe he didn't remember that they said they didn't want bike. So the police people are actually the ones working. They know what these people are working with. They know how to track them down. They know how their work can be easy for them. They've seen that, okay, bike is good, everybody uses bike, but from now, let there be no use of bike, because we want to tackle an issue. And I believe maybe after the tackling of issues and maybe everything is put in place,
they will not allow them use the bike.
Thank you. Maybe they will allow them to start to use that.
If we want to talk about the people of Borno, I know that in most remote areas in Nigeria, in most remote villages in Nigeria, I mean, they are heavily dependent on motorcycles. It's not even a luxury in most of our rural areas. It's what they use it to go to farms. They use it to go to everywhere. It's their major means of transportation, because how many people, if we want to talk of, can even afford a car? So I mean, it's their major means. So since I think the people are complaining that since that ban, they have not been able to, movement have not been
the way it used
easy.
to be.
Yes, movement have sort of been paralyzed. That's why I'm asking, are they sure that this is the right, the police force sure that this is the right measure? Because I mean, the security, I know the security forces are arguing that most of these ISWAP, most of these criminals, terrorists and whatnot use it for hit and run attacks. That is easier for them on 2 wheels than on 4 wheels. So you get, they are very correct.
It's been happening a lot, and they've come to see that this thing is actually bringing down our work.
But is it I don't think, are we trying to police now inconvenience? That is what I'm asking. Do we want to, like, are we trying to say we have to do what is convenient? Like the police force are saying that the people have to, move with what is convenient right now. Is what is convenient, what is easier? I mean, it's much easier for the police to ban all bikes in Borno State. They can just easily come out and say we are banning bikes. I feel like that is the cheapest and most, I don't know how to explain it. It's a very lame, sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to use it. So it's a very lame policing strategy. It's a very lame, yes, it's a very, very lame security measure. Very, very lame, because we are talking about the hard work of employing intelligence measures. We are talking about employing, good operational and systems, measures, means of communication, intelligence-led policing. That is what we are talking about now. And we are here banning means of transportation system that people can afford. The easiest means of transportation for these people in most of our remote communities, in most of our villages. How many people can afford cars? So are you saying people will not start trekking from here to something that is how many kilometers? What is the longest distance that I can use as an example? You are fighting with what I'm seeing like this. We are not fighting insurgency again. You are suffocating local economy. Exactly. Because when you tell people that they cannot move from here to here, you are hurting the economy too.
Of course.
How will they move goods? How will they move food? How will some people go to school? How will some people in these villages go to work?
I don't think they've put all that into consideration yet.
They should.
Because looking at this ban of bike is going to affect a lot of things. People use bike to move their product from one place to another. The easy ones that they can move instead of getting a vehicle or getting a cab to take it. And cabs now are very expensive. Looking at what is happening now in the country, the fuel and what have you. So the bikes are even means of people getting to their locations. And banning bikes now, they should consider us the citizens there to know how movement is going to be put in place. If it is to get keke they call it, and make it easier for people
even with the bikes there, like the point I'm trying to drive home here, Mary, is that I know they have come out, the ASP came out to argue that it's a technical strategy they are trying to hear, and I get where all those, I get the technical aspect of it, that this electric bikes, because that 3,000 bikes are electric bikes. Yes, there are like electric bikes do not make noise like our regular petrol bikes. They do not make noise, so they are like this kind of bikes is going to aid movement and crime in the state. Yes, for these terrorists. But then I get that aspect, but that means the police force are not doing their work, because if you are trying to solve one problem by toning down innovation, then there is a problem with the police force. We are supposed to start thinking of, if I'm a security officer, a silent bike is I can take it as it's scarier in an ambush scenario, because I wouldn't hear. But then let's start talking about 300 bikes. How are we going to start putting GPS now in this bike to track? That's what the police force should start thinking about. How are we going to put GPS now to start tracking this bike, to start tracking locations? How are we going to tag IDs with these fleets? How are we going to make it more safer? If we are saying that it is going to aid, I just feel like the police are not looking at the technical aspect well. We are just looking at, it's a technical aspect with mouth. Bike is not a threat here. I think bike is a tool safe for these people. We're trying to see how people can grow past. In many parts of the world, they are not talking about, bike is very important, but we are talking about people owning more, the bikes are they're trying to innovate more so that the bike can be more efficient. And in Nigeria, we are talking about how we are going to discard the use of motorcycle completely. because it supposedly aids criminals. It's not. I don't think using bike is the security challenge we have here. It's understanding modern technology and how to advance with modern technology, how to police intelligently. That is what we are supposed to be thinking about now, not to ban bikes. I see this as a very, I don't know.
Like you said, you cannot solve one problem by bringing another problem. So I feel that at this point they have to look into it critically to know how they are going to provide solution instead of just banning the bikes and making people stranded. Of course, citizens are going to come out and complain. You're shortening their means. You're shortening their means at their easy means of transportation, and they cannot be quiet. In as much as insecurity is going on right now, people still need to go to their farms. People will eat. People will move from one place to another to feed themselves. There are no doubts that starvation because insecurity is high right now. So let them look for another means. Like you said, that tracker thing is very, very important. If they can be tracked, and each owner of bike or electric bike, whatever bike they're using, if the person can have an ID, well registered, face card and everything is very important. You know that, okay, when you catch any other person using bike without all these requirements, you cannot hold the person and seize the person's bike. I think that measure too is very, nice, and it's going to be.
You even mentioned that we cannot use a problem to solve another problem. You just even brought something to my mind, because we are trying to solve climate issues.
Yeah.
We are trying to solve a problem, and then we are adding to the problem. Okay, I'm even thinking of another thing. Who are these bikes for? That's another thing we should be asking. If we are worried that bandits, terrorists and whatnot are going to have access to owning this bike, or have access to using this bike, so who are we giving the bike? Is it that we are going to give bandits and terrorists the bikes? I just want to understand here, because we are talking of, if the general public is banned from riding bikes, will these 3,000 units now only be handed out to government approved cooperatives, or political loyalists, or who is it going to be handed to? Because and then we have unions. Bike people have unions. Of course. It's more like it should be handed to people that it should be handed over to, like all those their bike Okada people unions and whatnot. Because if we are worried about security reasons, that means there are some other groups of people who want to hand over these bikes too. But if we are handing over these bikes to the right people who should use it, who are using it to work, who are using it to grow our economy, we can even divide it into groups. As we are giving some Okada union, you can give some farmers too. Like all the groups of people that need bike to aid their business, their life, or whatever aspect of their livelihood. Not for us to be worried about bandits. If we are worried about bandits, meaning we don't even know the people that are with us in our society. Anybody can come and stand, then we are just giving bikes out. You come and take your own. You come and take your own. One person will just come, no form of identification, no nothing. Exactly. So I think the government is trying to pioneer the green economy, and we are trying to turn it down. And these are places that are they're the hottest part of Nigeria. Yes. There are places that farming is booming and all of those things. These are places that need some certain things and some certain measures, especially when it comes to tackling climate change. So I feel like this project should not be halted completely. The ban of bikes should be rethink. We should have a rethink about the ban of bikes in Borno State. I do not think. I still hold on my words that banning motorcycles in Borno State is not the wisest decision. It's not intelligent enough coming from the police, or since it's not the wisest decision.
I also think that it has solved unemployment a little for those people that do not have employment and do not have certificate to work a white man's job. It has solved it, because they will be able to afford a bike if they can, or drive for somebody they can be paying to at the end of the month. But definitely they've gotten a job for themselves. So instead of staying idle and doing nothing, because all these people were collecting their bikes from them and banning bikes, of course an idle man is a devil's workshop. What if they don't have other means of survival? You see them going into crimes that you cannot withstand at the end of the day. So please let's help ourselves by, not solving problem with problem, but solving problem with solutions, possible solutions.
Exactly.
That we can see.
Exactly. Very, very important coming from you, Mary. Very, very important. I mean, we should think of solving this problem, and I feel like the only way is to have that clear communication. The government, the states, and the police first have a clear communication. Let's understand how. I think that's where we lack. There's always a breach in communication.
Yeah.
There's always a breach in communication in Nigeria, and it causes a lot of problem at the end of the day. But let's see how we can have clear communication. We think this banning of bikes, see how we want to solve climate issues and move to greener economy, and see how we want to help people's life, and still see how we want to safeguard, people's life. But I think that brings us to the end of our discussion today. We had a great discussion, especially talking about something that's very important.
Very, very important.
I don't know who hasn't rode on a bike. I know there are people who have never rode on a bike, but so many people in Nigeria, we know what bike can do for us. We know what, these things can, I call them tools. Should I say they are tools? They can take us to anywhere. Like, even if you are in a hold up, you just pick a bike and then you have reached where you want to, go to.
Very fast.
It's aiding people a lot. So I think it shouldn't be, especially in communities where we know that they use it a lot. They use it most of the time. They use it for so many things. It shouldn't just be a ban. I don't think it's a smart regulation. We need a smarter regulatory measure. We need a smarter regulation.
In as much as we want solutions.
You get in as much as exactly. We cannot leapfrog into our electric future. Why, we are just there sticking to security measures of the past, security style of policing from the past. We need to find a middle ground. We need to understand, where. We just need to understand
because whether we like it or yes, if this bandit do not use bike, they have other measures, they have other means. So when you're banning the bikes, what if they bring up other, maybe they start using Ubers to do their crime? You also banned Uber on operating.
Exactly. Very, very pertinent.
You won't do that.
Very pertinent.
You keep crashing the system and making it fit and suit them, because as you're banning bikes, they're looking for other means to commit their crime.
Yes,
so let's be smart and work with what we have instead of banning here.
Exactly. Very, very true. So that brings us to the end of our discussions today. We're leaving you with this, to reflect and think about this. Is banning bikes the way to go? Is it the best security measure you think Borno State Police should take? So we want you to share your thoughts with us. What do you think about this? What do you want Borno State to do? Which other smarter ways do you think we can use to regulate? Not just in Borno State. This applies to all other states in Nigeria. So we want you to send your thoughts, join the conversations on our social media platforms, and you can head over to our website to read more. And if you want to watch this episode again, in case you missed or you didn't start with us from the beginning, you can catch the replay of the full segment, which will be up on our YouTube page. That's the much we can take for today. My name is Cynthia Bassi, and I'm with
Richard.
Okay, and that's how we say bye for now.
Bye for now.